Okay, welcome back to our Midday Bible study. This is Eden to Eternity, a chronological study of the Bible. Today we are on session 15, which will cover Job 40 through 42. This week, Job gives a brief reply to God, which basically amounts to, I think I'll keep my mouth shut. God had asked Job to answer him, and he did not, so God pushes a little more. Will you even put me in the wrong? Will you condemn me that you may be in the right? That's chapter 40, verse 8. Sometimes we get so frustrated by our circumstances that we carry a subtle undercurrent of belief that God is cruel for letting us endure trials. That amounts to calling God a bad, unjust God. It is basically the belief that we would make a better God, because if we were God, our plans would absolutely be flawless. God points out Job's entitlement. Yes, Job glorified God, made sacrifices, and honored God with his life and actions, but he valued his righteous actions too highly, perhaps believing God owed him something. Finally, Job repents. Some versions say, I despise myself. But the Hebrew word here also means to withdraw or reject. So it is possible his statement is more like, I withdraw from myself. The tone it carries is more about humility than shame. Shame feels like an accusation about who you are as a person, someone who is undeserving of love. Humility, on the other hand, is rightly viewing who you are as a person who is loved despite being undeserving. Humility is the narrow zone where you are not building yourself up or beating yourself up because you realize it's not about you. After Job repents, God rebukes his friends. We finally get official confirmation from God about how wrong those guys were. He says they have not spoken of him what is right. While a lot of what they said about God was true, some of it missed the mark. Remember how they said they were delivering the very words of God, how they were visited by a spirit who told them things? It is possible this connects back to chapter 1, where God addresses the sons of God, a potential reference to angels, and in this case, fallen angels. If Job's friends were telling the truth about being visited by spirits, those spirits were likely evil spirits, fallen angels masquerading as angels of light. Now, whether Job's friends were lying or whether they were deceived by spirits and passed those deceptions on to Job, their statements were not from God. In the midst of all the true things they said about God, their speech was peppered with lies about him. That is one reason it is important for us to see Scripture's full view of God instead of plucking out one or two attributes we want to home in on to the exclusion of the others. God tells Job's friends to apologize. Then God tells Job to forgive them and offer a sacrifice for their sins. God works to purify and humble them all. Then he works to restore not just relationships, but everything in Job's life. Job gets it all back in a double portion. In the genealogy, something interesting happens. There is a rare moment when the females and not the males are named in the lineage. That is the opposite of what most ancient genealogies did. Not only do the women get named instead of the males, but they also get an inheritance along with the males, which was relatively unheard of in those days. This is a gesture of extreme generosity on Job's part, which also reveals a lot of humility. Here's the God snapshot for today. God's heart for restoration is so evident here. He not only restores Job's fortunes and his family, but he also restores Job's relationship with his friends. And most importantly, God restores Job's view of God and himself. He sets things right. If you have ever felt distant or alienated from God, you know how disoriented it is, how paralyzing it can be. And here is the God who draws near to the very people who viewed him wrongly, misunderstood him, told lies about him, and accused him of being cruel. And then he restores them in relationship with each other, and most importantly, with himself. I encourage you in your spare time to go back and read those chapters and see what the Lord has to say to you. So until next time, be blessed.